don't go away, you won't want to miss seeing Bailey, the wire hair fox terrier that gets stuck in what appears to be the vortex of the door.
Denise Mazzola is a certified professional dog trainer with over 20 years' experience training dogs and people. If you've got a doggy dilemma, Denise can help.
On this week's episode of Doggy Dilemmas, we're going to meet Bailey. He's an 8-year-old wire hair fox terrier that has a problem around doors. And what I love is what Karen has said is that you can come into the house, but boy, don't try to leave, because he will bark and carry on barking at you, barking at the door, and it's as if he's stuck in this threshold of the door. He doesn't know if he's supposed to go in or out, but he's barking, 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 and it's impressive. So we're going to see how that is today. We're going to work on developing a program involving some obedience, some desensitizing, and teaching Bailey that barking isn't going to work anymore. So let's meet Karen and John and Bailey and get started. So good to see you guys again.
Yes.
Now let's just go back, because it's been about a year since I've been here. And Bailey is a fox terrier.
Yes.
And how old is he?
He's 9 next month.
Okay, good.
9 years old.
And remind me of I know you adopted him and he was older, but kind of run down that history for me.
The history of Bailey is 3 years ago in April. Well, I've had him 3 years. He's coming April. We rescued him.
Okay.
And the history that was given to us was he had been with his first family, his original family. As far as we understood, he'd been with them for 6 years.
Okay.
And then they, for whatever reason, had to give him up for adoption. So he went to the kennel and he was adopted out. And that, I think it was just a couple. I don't think it was a family. It sounded like it was just a couple, probably a working couple. And they kept him 2 months and returned him. The reasons we were given, the little bit that they understood, was that he had this barking issue at the door, like when the woman, I guess her laundry room was down cellar, and when she'd go down there and shut the door, he'd just be at the door, and barking and stuff. So, and probably if they were working couple, they probably barked every time they left. We don't really know, but
okay.
That's how
So
we understood it. Yeah. So they returned him, and then we adopted him in April 3 years ago. So I've had him 3 years. He's coming April, so it's been almost 3 years. So and so that's his history as far as how he came to our family.
Okay. And his primary issue right now, the biggest thing you're having problems with?
Right now, it's when we or anybody wants to leave. When you go to the door, he gets between you and the door and then just jumps up and down. You can get the door open. He never tries to hurt you or bite at you or anything, but it's very aggressive. He's got this very aggressive barking, and you get the door open, and then you try to go out, and he's kind of half in, half out. He just back and forth. Even he does that even when he knows he's going with us. When we say you're going with us, you're coming with us, he still is torn. And then you, come on. And finally he comes out and you get the door shut. But if you're trying to leave him, it's the same thing. He's in, out.
Right.
So,
kind of funny. So anybody can walk in.
Anyone could walk in. Stranger, anybody. He just, like today, now he was a little excited, but he was eager to see you all. There was no aggression or anything.
Right.
But now if either one of you were to try and leave, he'd be at that door making it very difficult. As my sister says, he's a reverse guard dog. he lets people in, you just can't get out.
Right,
And
right. That would be a
so-
shocker, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah. If
for
somebody,
someone.
we do not really worry about being burglarized because they won't be leaving.
Any door.
No,
right? It's
no
any,
door.
It's any door in the house.
He would do it at any door.
Okay.
Yeah, like I say, this is our main entrance
Right.
now. But if you or I or anybody were to go to that door over there, he'd be right there. He'd run. I mean, he can be in this room. I can be in there and I can go to that door.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as he hears that handle, he flies and is right there.
Okay.
And if I go through, then he, of course, wants to be right where I'm at.
So so that one of the triggers is the sound of the handle. I suspect that if you get up and move around, he will anticipate you possibly moving to the door. and
Right.
That becomes a trigger.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
and he is very in tune, which probably most dogs are, but he is so in tune with body language, with just words even. I mean, before you came, Jack saw your car coming up and he says, "Oh, they're here." And I said, No, don't.
Don't say anything.
No, because he would then immediately be running around and looking out the window because he would know. You
so
know,
they're here is a trigger that someone's coming.
He knows someone's coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like he has a little barking, like maybe what I would put in the realm of normal in anticipation of someone coming
Right,
in,
right.
barking. Knocking on the door, does that set him off?
We don't. There really is never knocking on the door.
Okay.
We don't. If somebody's coming, we're expecting them. And like when we had our contractor here, he knew he could just come in.
Mm-hmm.
We were always up and ready. But we don't. We don't get anybody out here knocking on doors.
Right.
Salespeople or anything.
Okay, good.
But certainly, if we could let them in and then say good luck getting out of here.
Okay. And if I remember right, last time we also had some resource guarding. Is that, and you guys were really good at sort of avoiding those. Like if he was chewing on a bone or a toy.
Oh, definitely. If he when he was chewing on that, if I were to go and try and take that, there'd be major growling, and
Okay.
you may not have what I have.
Okay.
And that's with any of his toys. If we play ball outside, he doesn't drop it. He doesn't really play ball. You have to, he won't bring it back, drop it for you to throw it again. He wants to keep it.
So he'll chase it and pick it
He'll
up.
chase it, pick it up, and then he runs around with it. So it's kind of ball solitaire for him.
Okay.
But then I got to where this summer I would give him a treat when he dropped the ball, and so he learned that okay, if I drop it, I'm going to get that, and then I throw it. So that's how we play ball. He has
Okay.
to get a treat. To
So
let it
all
go.
toys, the bone. What about his food dish? Anything?
Oh yeah.
I think he'd be the same. I mean, he just he gobbles that down, and we've never
Okay.
done anything like tried to take anything.
Right, and with having an adult only home, it's much easier to just avoid those things. It's not. I
Right.
understand it's not an issue, but it's part
Right.
of his makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yes.
all sort of related. Okay. Any other issues with aggression? Are you able to pat him and move him and take him by the collar, or?
We've had a couple issues there. Let me think how it was. Well, okay, recently we'd have my sister over for dinner, and the ham was on the counter in the kitchen, and we were eating. You were done, I think, so you were sitting here. Diane and I were still at the table there, and all of a sudden she hollers out, "Bailey, Bailey, Bailey!" Well, he jumps at the counter. He jumps up, so he was trying to investigate that ham.
Right.
So I got up quickly, went over, and he was down. But then when I went to get him, he turned and like he was going to bite.
Okay.
But he didn't. And he has done that 2 or 3 times when he's been in a high
State of
intense-
arousal.
Yeah, and then you try to just do anything, then he
Okay.
just, yeah.
So he will redirect that arousal or frustration
Right.
onto who's ever reaching. for it.
Right.
But his bite is more of a warning.
Okay.
Yeah,
What he does
he's
is
only...
he'll grab you and just not bite down.
Okay. So
No,
he's good
just-
by inhibition.
Yeah,
okay.
but what you're saying is when you play with him and then he gets kind of, because he's never like with me done that. It's just, for
He
me,
does a
he's
head
never
turn?
really, yeah, he does the head turn and he's just, and just does that with me. But like he'll play with him, and then it'll get kind of rough. And then when he's had it, then he'll kind of nip at your hand and stuff.
Okay. And any of those issues come up when, so if I got up to leave and I instructed you to take his collar and remove him from the door, would that be a trigger for him to do a head turn or
I
potentially
don't
snap?
think he would do that. He would be so busy barking, and he'd be probably just jumping up and down.
Okay.
You know, he'd be at the end of his lead, and he'd just be jumping up and down.
But if you didn't have the leash on and you took him by the collar,
Well, I don't know, because we don't do that. When
Okay.
the whole time we had contractors here, we had that leash was on him all the time,
Okay.
so that we could quick grab him.
okay.
And,
And do either of you remember ever grabbing him by the collar early on and realizing that that wasn't such a good idea?
I
don't.
don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, if I would say 99.9% he would get aggressive if you tried to just hold him at the collar and
Okay.
stop him.
Okay. So that's not, it's always interesting to me. You come into a home and, Bailey seems lovely and, he's not calm, but, there's not any of this outward stuff. Like sometimes I go into homes and I have to sit very carefully, or I need to sit on a stool, or, as a dog has issues with other people that are coming into the home. And so, Bailey really has 3 issues going on. So it makes a little more sense to me. The first family had him for 6 years. We're never going to know why they gave him up, whether they had young children all of a sudden or something happened or who knows. And the second family, after 2 months, probably saw this same stuff and said no way. So you guys have had him for 3 years and have been dealing with this barking for a long time. So you're committed
Right.
to him. There's
Right.
no
Right.
question about that.
Like, yeah, because like I said to him, if you went away today, if there's not a way we can really change that, that wouldn't alter. We know what to do and how to do it.
Right.
And the way we do it, when we're going to leave and he's going to stay home, I take him, we have to get the house prepped. We keep him blocked from that room because
Okay.
I just don't want him in there,
Okay.
and so that's fine. And we have to get those 2 chairs away from the counter because he will actually get up on
Climb
top
on
of
the
that
chair,
counter.
climb on top of the counter.
Yeah,
Well,
up
they're
there.
always
So
smart.
yeah,
These
so
dogs aren't.
oh yeah, and so
dummies.
he just does it because that's where we eat, and so he's aware of that. And he would do the same at that table, but we get the room prepared, and of course
And
he
does that
knows.
set him off?
He's then very excited because he knows we're going,
leaving.
and
Do you see more excitement when you go through the routine that tells him he's not going versus the routine when he's going with you? Any difference?
not.
I don't believe there is.
I don't think so. As soon as, like, if I were to, like when he's going with us, okay, I go, I get my purse. As soon as I get my purse, and he knows something's up. So, and then he just starts. He's following me. He's all around. And then, and then as soon as we have everything we need and we're getting ready to go out the door, he, like I say, sometimes he'll go right out with us.
Right.
I suppose I think sometimes we do say, well, come on, we're going to go and blah, blah. And he then knows. But if we just suddenly are going and he hasn't really figured out yet, am I going, am I not? Then he does his thing in between the door. But
So-
when we are going to leave him home, the routine is we get the house prepped. I take him for a walk, and
so
then
you do the stool thing, the
we
gate
get all
thing,
that, yeah,
and
and
you take him for a
yeah,
walk.
and
Okay.
technically he would do that after I would get the dog out of the house, but with the cold and stuff, I'm not walking too far with him.
Right.
But the main thing is, then we have a bone and a Kong full
Mm-hmm.
of peanut butter and treats, and those sit on the mat by the kitchen sink. And so, my job, I walk him up the road. He gets the house set up, and he goes and waits in the car. And of course, the car's running, so the dog knows it. But he knows that routine because he knows when we turn around to come back, he is literally pulling me to get back to the house, not to go to the running car thinking I'm going. His mind is on that bone and Kong because he knows that's what's waiting for him.
So he comes in and is relaxed?
He's very eager to get in, and I unhook him, open the door, and he goes in, the door shuts, And then he does one bark, and then he's immediately at his Kong and his bone. And as far as we know, that's it. We
So you don't hear him carrying on.
No,
carrying
he doesn't
on.
carry on. He doesn't. He used to early on. He would,
Yeah.
and especially when we would park out there, you know, because he could see us
He carried on
going.
for, if I remember right, one of the last times I was here, I videotaped him. And
Right.
you guys left. And it was like 15 minutes of running
nonstop,
around.
yeah.
And then he'd take a couple licks from the Kong, and then he'd run around, he'd check the windows, and he'd bark. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
And we don't know if that was just because he was here with you were in the house. Of course, I think Mike was here that day. I don't know, but we don't know if that was ever a norm. I know one time my sister, she was out on her patio over there and said, it was early on, and says, oh, he barked most of the time you were gone. And we thought, well, close the window or something, because he has to be home sometime.
Right,
So-
right, exactly.
Yeah.
I like your attitude.
No, so it just,
Okay.
so he definitely knows, he does know routine. So, and like I say, and we will leave him sometimes up to 8 hours, and we come home, there's no potty, there's no problem. If something were left on the counter, he will have gotten it. One day I left the pantry open a little, and he had a bag of bread out. He ate some of it. I don't think he liked it. And then he ate, we had those French fried onion rings you can get.
Yeah.
Oh my God. He didn't like those because it was torn open, but then that was
He
it.
just sampled.
Yeah, he said,
sampled things in the pantry.
forget
but-
this pantry. Doesn't have anything good in it.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, you are funny.
but yeah, so he will. He does try to, cruise the counter, because you'll see every once in a while, like a piece of Tupperware might be on the floor because
Right.
it has an odor to it or something if it's
Right.
sitting out.
Okay.
So he does do some investigation there.
All right. So, what are the things that you've tried? All the things that you've tried to make this better.
What we try to make it better is, well, when we went to see Dr. Posage, and then she got him on his little medication, which he has calmed down as far as, a little bit, I think. I think he's calmed down a
And
bit.
he's on, how much meds is he on?
5 milligram, is it fluoxetine, I
Yep.
think it's called.
Okay.
And he's been on that now almost a year. Yeah.
Okay.
And so...
And that was the beginning dose.
And that's
5
the
milligrams.
that's the only dose he's been on, and he is still on it now.
Okay.
And then she does want to see him, like, after we have our sessions,
Yep.
and to see him again.
After you started the fluoxetine with him, did you make follow-up phone calls or emails to her so she could decide whether to...
Yeah, and she just said keep in touch, and we did see a difference in him as far as he calmed down better. He didn't have that non-stop when the workers were in. He did calm down a little bit,
She didn't feel like it needed to go up?
She never did, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
she never did. So what she had us do then, she taught us how to, get him to stay, work with him and staying in one place, get him his treat, work your way closer to the door, and as long as you stay, go back in his treat. Just work your way to the door and then get the door open and then
Right.
eventually go through it. Well, we did do all that in that room because it was still the
That was your
original
primary,
room.
yep.
And I could do that. That's great during a training session. But then, if you just try to just do it and go through that door, then
Right.
no, he's right there. During training, he does fine. And so then when we made this more our primary door, like in the summer and when the weather's warmer, I will, again, have him just, well, I try to have him stay in a bed or a chair, just stay in a certain spot, because like she said, they need to have the one go-to place. That's where they're supposed to
Right.
be. Well, as soon as he'd see me at the door, he's there.
Okay.
And so that was a lot of, okay. So he'd get there and I'd make him sit on the landing. And then I'd get the door open. And I'd tell him he'd get his treat. I'd leave the door. As long as I left the door open, he would actually just sit there on the landing. And I could be outside if we were barbecuing, and he might maybe get up and walk out, and then I'd make him get right back in. But that's as far as it would go. But we're not at a place where I could get up now, go to that door, and
Right.
he would
Okay.
stay, even if it just
Okay.
wouldn't work. So it just never seemed like it worked.
Okay. And what else have you tried before you saw Dr. Posage? Anything else that you had tried to do before that?
No.
Okay.
We didn't know what to do. Then we called you.
Okay.
I mean, we thought after after a couple of years, we thought within the first year or two when this was a problem, we thought, okay, he just doesn't know this is his forever home. And, you just assume things will
Right.
take care of themselves. But,
But they don't always.
no,
Yeah.
they don't.
And a lot of times, it takes more than love and stuff to change a dog or to fix them.
Right.
So, this problem is not going to go away quickly.
No.
And
Or ever.
well, yeah, maybe, maybe not. But if he's been doing it a minimum of 3 years and potentially longer, because we don't know really previous to that what he's been doing. And
Right.
he's 8 or 9, right? So, he's an older dog, senior dog.
You can't
That-
teach an old dog new tricks.
Well, you can, but it's those neural pathways are sort of they're in there.
Yeah.
That this is
to
what I do.
break through it, yeah.
Right. Try to brush your teeth with your left hand.
Yeah.
Or if you're, or your other hand, and it feels awkward and uncomfortable, and it would take a long time before I would feel comfortable doing that. Or drive instead of driving your normal route, go a different way, and suddenly you have to think more. You might actually be a little more tired. Like if you travel and you have to read the map or watch your GPS or whatever it is that's navigating you, it takes more cognitive energy to do something different. So the good news is he's a little more tired, as we start some training. And the change is going to happen in, I don't want to say minute, but in small increments. So let's just say he was a dog that was just barking at the window, and we wanted to change that. I would I would literally ask you to time it, because there also seems to be two different kinds of people in the world. People that can listen to barking and people that it just sends them over the deep end instantly. Now you both must be people that can listen to barking.
Right.
Because I've heard
Up
him.
to a
We're gonna
point,
show everybody
Up
else
to
what
a
he does.
point,
But
and then I will actually, I think this morning he got crazed about something. I'm not sure what. But, or maybe it was yesterday, I don't know. But anyway, I will actually just literally scream at the top of my lung, shut up.
And
And
does it
then
stop?
he does. He
And
does.
does it
It
stop
shocks
for-
him.
Right. So it
For-
kind of snaps
yeah,
him out of it a little
It does.
bit.
It does. It's like it takes that loud of a voice
Yep.
to do it.
To interrupt the behavior and
Yeah.
try to.
It was yesterday.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's interesting to know. So, and we need to be, I feel like in dog training, years ago it was all adversives, all punishment, choke, prong, shock collars, never really show the dog what we want them to do, just punish the heck out of them when they did something
Right.
we didn't want them to do. And then, thankfully, we've sort of all come over to the bright side and said, oh, well, let's, show our dogs what we want them to do, and let's reinforce that with food or toys or praise or whatever. But there's also a middle ground, and, I'm going to see some of Bailey's behaviors in a minute, but I'd like to know that the dogs I'm working with have about an 80% success rate with some basic behaviors. We don't need to teach them to jump through a hula hoop or something. A good sit 80% of the time, a good down 80% of the time, and maybe a leave it 80% of the time. So that if you need to yell at him or we need to try something slightly aversive, he'll have some recollection rolling around in his brain of oh, I know what I can do. I can sit. Right, but if we just haul off and start punishing him,
Yeah.
and he has no
He's not
idea
learning,
what we
right.
expect of him, it's not fair.
Right.
It's not fair.
And
It-
you mentioned shock collar, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
That was one of the other things we did try. We probably, what would you say, 3 to 4 months ago,
Yep.
we finally did get a shock collar
Okay.
for him. We got, the first one we had, it worked by voice box.
So it was a bark collar.
A bark
So if
collar.
he barked, he'd get a
And
shock.
that was okay until after 2 weeks, one day it went off and did not stop going off. He had to literally rip it off of his neck.
Ah,
We returned
Huh.
that. Told them, do not resell this. It
Okay.
kept going. So then we went and got the one that you manually control. It's got the prongs, and then you just have a remote. And I can show it to you if you like. But the remote has a beeper on the side, so you can just, when we know something's going to happen, we can just hit that beeper and it
Right,
beep,
because
beep,
it
beep, beep.
predicts the shock.
And, yeah, and so but it won't shock. So he will settle down once he hears that. But if we're at a point where somebody, is coming in or going out, and we're trying to have him just not, then I'll give him the shock, and it will give him the yip, and then, but he'll still be a little bit, it doesn't just make him stop.
So but does the barking stop, but the anxiety
but then he's
is still
yeah,
there?
well, and then he tones it down. Then he knows he can't bark, but he knows he can, make noise. He'll still be.
Right,
It's all
okay.
in him. Same with when we're in the car. When we're going to go shopping, he's going to be with us, and we're going to be getting in and out of the car at different places. We put that collar on him and all we ever have to do is just the warning. But he knows now, he's that smart, and all dogs probably are, but he knows when that collar's on, he can't really do a bark.
Right.
So, in my mind, I think we spoke of this recently, and I think you were saying he's more or less reacting to the fact the collar's on, not so much that he's
Right.
associating it
With
with
the
the collar
collar.
and
Yep.
not what
Yep.
he's doing wrong at the time. But anyway, we can at least get out of the car, and he's not the hard barking when we're leaving him
Okay.
in the car.
Okay.
And then when we do leave him in the car, it's the same thing. He does stop the barking. Once he sees we're in the store, then he's
If
quiet.
we're out of sight, he
Then he stops.
Huh. So prior to him wearing the collar in the car, if you got out, you could hear him barking.
He would
the
start
whole-
barking. He knew the routine of Depot and Lowe's and those stores. I'm
Right,
telling you,
right.
the dog was with us all the
Right.
time. Couldn't leave him home with the workers. And as soon as you turn into the driveway, he knows
Starts
where
barking
he's
then.
at. And
Okay.
he starts barking.
Okay.
Barking, not no. And it's like if he's in my ear, I'm driving,
Right.
I'm wanting to knock him. I don't, but he apparently had been in his earlier life because he is very. If we move our hands
Right.
anywhere near his head, he really has an issue.
Okay.
And we have never ever, nor would we ever do that to him. But he'd just be barking in my ear till I get the car parked and turned off, and we're getting out, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Have you ever, when you were out with errands, if you take him out of the car, like have you ever taken him into Home Depot or any other store?
Well,
that you
what
could?
we'll do is, especially when we're doing a lot, I pretty much would, when we get to, or say point one, I would always if I don't get him out when we get there, I'll get him out to walk him after we've come out. It just depends. If there's
Okay.
been a little bit of a drive in between stops, and I'll walk him usually before we go in, so he will relax a
But if
little.
you get him out of the car, does he stop barking and relax as he's going into the store with you?
Yeah. Well, we don't ever take him in the store. I know they let you. We took him into the pet store one time, but I'm always afraid he's going to smell something wet on it, so I don't like to bring him in. So if there's enough other dogs in there, he's going to make an accident. I don't want to clean it up. So.
Okay. All right. So what I just want to underline this one more time, that the change in behavior that we're going to be looking for is going to be in small steps.
Okay.
And by working with you on a weekly basis, it will be actually probably easier for me to come in and see those improvements
Okay.
than it will be for you living here.
Okay.
Because you're here all the time. Like, you can't see your children
Right,
grow,
right.
but when the relative comes after a couple months, oh my goodness, the child grew. And most, we're all, even us, are subject to, we want instant gratification. And there would be nothing better than to be able to, pull out some magic wand from my back pocket and say, he's not going to bark anymore. But that's just not going to happen. So I just want to give a reality check that
definitely.
I think we can make some improvement, but this behavior will not be gone quickly.
Right.
And
We're not looking for a quick fix. And like I say, we have lived with it so long that if it doesn't get corrected, it doesn't get corrected.
Okay.
We know what we need to do
Right.
to get out of the house. We know what we need to do to leave him in the house, and, it works.
Right,
We
right.
just,
Right. And the other big, I think, I would say 99% of changing his behavior is going to be you two being consistent
Exactly.
with what I ask you to do. Because if you if you don't do it, and then I come back in a week or two, and then I won't know whether that's worked or not.
Right.
And if you do things differently, he is going to learn. Oh, I can
Get away
get
with
away
this
with
from
it,
mom,
with-
but not
right,
dad, or
right.
dad,
And
or
all
mom.
those sorts
oh, yeah,
of things.
just
So
like kids, yeah.
consistency, and boy, that's going to be tiring.
Yeah.
It's going to be tiring for the dogs that I've had in my house and board and train or working with. You know, I sit down at my desk, the dog starts to bark, I have to get up and do something. The dog starts to bark, I have to get up and do something. I cannot not do that if I'm going to be consistent.
Right.
Or I have to set up the situation so the dog is with me on a leash, laying down, while I'm at my desk, so the opportunity to bark is never present. So that if I'm in a position where I can't get up and do that. So there will be times where the behavior comes out because there are so many triggers for him. But I'd like to see if we could minimize those. You know, get him to relax a little bit more, and he's still not really relaxed. Like I don't
Right.
see this as a relaxed
No,
picture.
he
He's
was a short while ago. He actually was
Yes,
on his side, so
side.
I think he actually fell asleep for a few minutes.
Right.
But now it's like, okay, I can get up and go really quick when I need to.
I mean, you know, his eyes are opening and closing and blinking a little bit, but
But this is just not a norm for him.
Right.
People are in here and stuff.
right. And the hip position is very.
Yeah.
I call it Sphinx, like he's ready to.
Yeah,
jump
he's
right
ready
up.
to go
Yep,
if
yep.
he needs to be. Now, see, if my sister were to come home and he heard her car, he'd immediately be at the windows looking, barking. He doesn't hard bark like he used to, but he does still, you know, bark if
Okay.
she's in or out. And like this morning, every other Friday morning, the trash man comes.
Taking a break.
Right on cue. If my
that's
sister
perfect.
comes home and.
See, now he's gonna stand there and bark.
But she doesn't come in this door.
She does not, no.
Okay, she just goes in the other
Yeah.
part of the house.
But that's
They
about
come
all.
back?
That's about all he does. Though. It's not like
Come on, Bailey.
chaotic and out of control.
Good boy. Look at that. Well, you're not totally out of your brain yet. So one for coming. That's a hot dog. You eat that? Wow. Take a long time to feed you.
But now, like this morning, the trash man came, and of course he backs up the road and it's doing
It's
the beep. As
beeping.
soon as he hears that, well, and then it's loud. He does pretty much hard bark the whole time the trash man's out there.
Okay.
Because
So
that's
those are
just a
all-
loud big truck. Because he has an issue with big trucks, big loud
He's noise
vehicles.
sensitive, right?
He is. Well, and if I'm walking
fireworks.
him, and oh yeah, totally.
And thunderstorms.
He
Phobic.
very shaky. We have one of those thunder shirts we put on him, and it helps him a little. But
Okay.
yeah, but he does have a fear of big vehicles going by. So I don't know if he, in his history, he had a leg injury. We don't know if he had been hit or what. He'd had a surgery. I'm thinking maybe he got hit by a truck or something because he will just duck if a big truck, even if he's in the car.
Oh, really?
A truck will go by if we're out on a highway, and if he's not aware that it's coming, he will actually duck.
Okay.
He just has a real fear of any big trucks and stuff. So I think like with the trash truck, it's big, it's noisy, and
Right.
so he pretty much hard barks. He wouldn't have done with the truck this morning like he just did. He went, saw the door, nothing happened. He came back, he's fine. He'd be barking the whole time that truck's out
Right,
there.
right. Okay. So let's see. I'd like each of you to ask him for 3 sits. So, and if you need to stand up and move around, I could ask him to sit, either treat him or pat him, whatever you would normally do, and then just move away so he gets up and ask him for another sit. I just want to see, you know, how you do it and how he responds, and then we'll move on to the downs. But I don't want the sit and then the down.
Okay.
So just do 3 sits first. You can do the first one sitting there if you want.
Okay. Bailey? See. Okay. Whoop. Sit.
So he's.
Sit.
So you try to lure him back up into the sit.
Okay.
So he rolls over. He's going to show us everything he knows.
That's it. Up. Sit.
And he barks out of frustration. Right, so if he thinks that he should have had the treat already, he barks at you.
Yeah. He's saying, well, come on.
So
I've
just
done-
stand up and stand.
Okay.
You can stand in front of John if
Oh.
you need to, and just ask for the sit, and then you can have a treat for that.
Sit.
Now treat him quick. Yep. Now walk back. Yep. Just see if we can get him to stand up again. And ask for another one.
Sit. Sit.
Good. Good.
Job.
Now do the down for me without a sit. So see if you can get him standing or walking towards you, and then ask him for the down.
Down.
Nice. Very nice. That was on a verbal. Good. And one
Down.
more. Very good. So do you feel safe picking up this bone? I want
Oh,
to
yeah.
see his trick of roll
Yeah.
over. If he doesn't have possession, good.
Okay. Down.
And roll him over.
Roll over.
Good.
And he does it both ways.
And we roll. Okay, so he's ambidextrous.
He's a bi roller.
Right. He's a bi roller.
Not bipolar. He's a bi roller.
Any other tricks?
No, that's it. We didn't
Shape.
even know he rolled until our son, they were visiting one time when we'd had him a year or so, and
Have you ever
They
asked
got
for a paw to see if he'll paw or anything?
I never have, no.
I think he will.
Just
Yeah, I
ask him
think
for
he probably,
Bailey.
Bailey, come here, buddy.
So ask him for a
Bailey, come.
Come on.
for a sit, John, and then ask him
Come
to
here.
see if he'll shake.
Hey, come here. Sit. Bailey, sit. Can I have your paw? No. Give me your paw. No.
I'm gonna lick you. I'll
Well,
lay down.
you've done two different instructions anyway.
Come on.
Do you want him just doing the sits now, or?
Yeah, just sit, and then we'll. So that's right. He's just
Sit.
Good. So he may not paw.
Give me your paw. No, your paw.
That's right. He's thinking that's more of a down when your hand goes down. That's fine. Okay. So not bad at all. And remind me, when you did the work with Dr. Postage, it was a sit stay or a down stay?
I think we were doing the sit and stay, I think. Because at that
Sit
point
and
she was
stay.
trying to
Okay.
get it to where I could walk, further
Okay.
away from him and then
Okay.
go back. It was because she was trying to get us to be able to go through a door and him stay in one place. So we mostly, I think that's what we were working towards, because
Okay.
he'd do the sits and the lays and all that, or
Okay.
the down, but.
So for today, we're out of time on this show of Doggy Dilemmas. Join us next week as we continue with Karen, John, and Bailey, the wired-haired fox terrier that gets stuck in the vortex of the door.
If you have a doggy dilemma, Denise can help. Visit www.denisemazzola.com for more information. Denise Mazzola is a certified professional dog trainer tested through the Association of Pet Dog Trainers. The association requires recertification every 3 years with a minimum of 30 hours of continuing education. She has been training dogs and working with families for over 20 years.